The first elected and first black mayor in Newbern, Alabama, has not been able to carry out his duties, leaving the town because white folks there have blocked him from taking his seat for 3 years. Patrick Braxton assumed office by default in 2020 when he filed for office, and no one else, including the incumbent, did the same. Previous Newborn mayors had been appointed or ran unopposed, with several serving for more than 10 years. Many residents did not know they were even allowed to have elections. Seriously, Braxton has an ongoing lawsuit alleging the white town leaders arranged an illegal and secret special election, preventing Braxton from appointing a majority black town council and Newburn voters from electing their candidates of choice. And Newburn is about 77 miles southwest of Birmingham, and its population is 80% black, 20% white. However, the town's leadership, except for Braxton and his town council, has been majority white for years. The Legal Defense Fund has filed a preliminary injunction to force Newburn to hold elections and to allow its citizens to vote for the first time in years. My goodness, this is, okay, so I know somebody's watching me right now, and you're saying y'all have got to be kidding. But remember what happened in Ferguson. Same thing, 6-7% black, and for the longest they didn't have a black mayor. You often see this happen in these small towns in Alabama and Mississippi. And so we must understand this is a reality. Marina Fujani joins us right now, special counsel of the LDF. She's been working on this. Okay, so walk us through this. Walk us through this. When is the last time they actually had an election?
So as we understand it, the town of Newbern has not had elections since at least the last few decades. They may not have ever had elections before the Voting Rights Act was passed in 1965.
The last few decades?
That's right.
What the hell? Like, what the hell? Do the people there not get news? Were they seeing elections happening everywhere else and no one said, hey, what about us?
So what's been happening is that different white residents of the town have been appointing themselves and other white residents that they know to the positions of town council member and mayor. And it's been essentially a hand-me-down governance system for the past several decades.
So nobody black said anything? No one? I'm baffled that you could have a majority black town and literally this just went on and it was okay.
I think it is hard to wrap your mind around in terms of why before 2020, when Patrick Braxton decided to run for mayor, why didn't that happen previously? But that just hasn't been the practice. That hasn't been the history. And also remember that this town is quite segregated. So the black people in the town live in a different part of town, and they have basically tended to take care of themselves by themselves without help of the official town governance.
So, I mean, I get segregation. Okay, so all of a sudden, no one decides to run, so Patrick goes, hey, I'm going to run. And what? They just said, nope, you're not going to be the mayor. I mean, first of all, how does the state attorney general allow this to happen?
I think that's a really good question. I think that's where things really start to get complicated when Patrick Braxton decided to run for mayor. At first, the outgoing mayor did not give him the proper information to qualify for a candidate of mayor, but Mr. Braxton was very intent on running and did the research that he needed to do so that he could still qualify. And then I think the problems really began not only after he decided to run, but it was really after he recruited other residents, and then it was only Black residents who decided to serve on his town council, that the outgoing white power structure decided that they wanted to put a stop to that.
How large is this town's budget? What do they actually control? What are they in charge of?
Well, Newburn is quite a small town that probably has between 200 to about 350 residents. There's the town post office, there's a town hall, there are a few other municipal buildings, but it's really quite small. So I don't actually think that this dispute is about getting a lot of access to town funds. It seemed to be more about holding on to those vestiges of power and trying to maintain that white-dominated town governance.
So since this happened, I mean, have the Black folks there woken up? Have they realized that, man, we've been getting screwed all these years and we now want justice? We want this to be done the right way?
I think since Mayor Braxton decided to run, since he recruited his town council members, since all of the media attention and the lawsuit, I think it has really changed the conversations that are happening in the town of Newbern, and it's making the residents really think about, for the first time, having a town government that serves them.
So where do we stand right now? I mean, is Braxton, is he in office? What's going on?
Where we stand right now is that who the lawful mayor is and who the town council is in dispute, and it's really what the centerpiece of the lawsuit is. And we have a hearing on May 6th that is really going to go to the core of determining who the right mayor and town council should be, and also making the town of Newbern hold elections.
Is this in state court? Is this in federal court?
That's in federal court in the Southern District of Alabama.
Have y'all heard anything from the state?
From the town defendants?
No, from State Secretary of State, from State Attorney General, from the governor. No. Is there where Newburn is I'm sure there's a county government there. So any of the county officials, how about the state rep or the state senator, the member of Congress that represents that area? Anything?
They haven't been in touch with the Legal Defense Fund, but maybe they've been in touch with Mayor Braxton directly.
Wow. It is just stunning that we can be in 2024 and these folks, they're located in the Black Belt, are still trying to actually elect their own mayor in leadership.
Right, absolutely.
That's just wild. So you said the hearing is May 6th?
Yes, that's right.
All right. Well, we certainly will be paying attention to see what happens.
Thank you.
All right. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Matt Manning, civil rights attorney out of Corpus Christi. He joins us. Also, Caleb Bethea, communication strategist, joins us as well. Michael Imhotep hosts the African History Network show out of Detroit. Matt, this is absolutely crazy, bro. This is insane.
Yeah, this is not only insane. I thought that there had to be some weird issue with the maybe city ordinances or the codes. So actually, while you were speaking with the attorney, I read the Alabama law because I was just confused. And basically, in most states, they have a whole section of law that that relates to municipalities and corporations and basically how cities and towns are incorporated and what their powers are, all of that. So Newburn would be a Class 8 municipality in the state of Alabama. And the reason I mention that is because oftentimes there are gaps when they're very small cities and towns in terms of their ability to just govern themselves. So I thought maybe they had some kind of weird law that allowed the mayor to appoint everybody on the city council and some of the stuff I read in advance of this segment. But getting down to it, this is out and out racism and out and out preservation of power, because the Alabama codes, as it relates to even Class 8 municipalities, talks all up and through about elections. So the fact that there haven't been elections here, I think is proof positive that there's clearly been a very caustic power dynamic, and there's been a power dynamic where even among 350 some odd people, the black people there have been cordoned off and been rendered unable to participate fully in their democracy. So I'm hoping that the federal judge sees this as just a per se, you are being divested of your 15th Amendment right to vote. You're being divested of your right to be a fully participative citizen. And hopefully he or she, not only issues the injunction, but make sure that the people of Newburn actually get to have a voice.
This is crazy, Kelly. Just crazy.
It's crazy, but it's also really fascinating to me because after, listening to the LDS attorney, or representative rather, I am now curious to know exactly how many other municipalities are in this exact same situation, in that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of small towns just like Newbern, Alabama, and certainly throughout the South. I wonder just how many are in a similar or exact same predicament, in that there are no elections because the town is so small, and I'm assuming the demographic is relatively older. Usually small towns of this size, we're talking about people who have been there their entire lives, don't really, venture out and then come back. We're talking about people who have been there and have stayed there their entire lives, residents who, are pretty much used to how things are and aren't necessarily exposed to how things can be or are currently in the rest of the state, rest of the country, and beyond. So I think certainly the white residents of Newbern know and take advantage of that. And not only is that disgraceful, I think it really does need to be explored by the DOJ, because this is, in my opinion, an even bigger issue.
Michael.
Yeah, Roland, I know some people act surprised by this, but this doesn't surprise me at all, especially if you understand the history of Alabama. No, you look at the Alabama State Constitution in 1901, okay, that codified white supremacy. And that's not me saying that. That's the Encyclopedia of Alabama. When you go research it, they instituted poll taxes and literacy tests to suppress the African-American vote. When you go back and look at the lawsuit of Gomillion versus Lightfoot, 1961, this was to fight against the gerrymandering that the state of Alabama was doing in Tuskegee, Alabama, and locking out almost all of the African-American voters and bringing in to this district poor white voters. And Tuskegee, Alabama had a higher literacy rate than the surrounding white counties, largely because of Tuskegee Institute.
But Michael, yeah. No. I mean, first of all, you go through the civil rights movement, the Black freedom movement. You got what happened in Selma. You got what happened in Birmingham. You get the Voting Rights Act in 1965. There are only 77 miles from Birmingham. Yeah. I'm a little surprised you don't have an election since 1965. I mean, that's we ain't say 1985, 1995, 1965.
Well, Roland, January 6, 2021, you had a group of domestic terrorists to try to overthrow the government.
No, I understand that. But an 80% black town, 20% white, not having an election since the 60s. Yeah, that's that's still shocking.
I'm not saying it's right.
No. I'm saying again, there's no news that this is sort of like the Japanese soldier, who they found 30 years later, didn't realize the war was over. I just don't understand how people living in this town got no news about any election anywhere else in the country and was like, we ain't had one since 60-something. I'm just saying.
Very quickly here, one of the points I've made before numerous times on this show is oftentimes white people will value our vote and fear our vote more so than we will. Okay, and I'm not trying to condemn anybody in this town. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying white people fear the African American vote, and in the words of the great master teacher historian Dr. John Henry Clark, he would say, "I'm surprised that you're surprised." This does not surprise me.
Since the 60s, yeah, it surprises me. All right.
Be sure to follow us here on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, Imhotep. Follow us on our social media platforms as well, on Twitter and Instagram. We have the information here on the homepage of our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can also register for the 10-week online history course that I teach, where we deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. This is a class that I created the curriculum. I've been teaching it since 2017, on and off. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. So the class is discounted to $60. We're going to do about 12 class sessions, including the first session, which was the overview. We have the class lesson plan here for all 10 or 11 class sessions as well. So you can see the type of content that we cover. You can download the class lesson plans here as well. So we deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. We look at some ancient African civilizations, not just ancient Kemet, but also Kush, Ethiopia. We look at Great Zimbabwe. We look at Hannibal Barca and Carthage. We talk about the African Moors as well. We have a preview of the class here also. So you can register for it. Click right here to register for the class. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded, so you can go back and watch it anytime. So a year from now, 2 years from now, you have full access. You can go back and watch the entire course, okay? Our next classes are Saturday, April 6th, Saturday, April 13th, April 20th, April 27th, 2024. And we do the classes usually 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We may have one last class session after April 27th. We have to see how much we can cover, okay? But as soon as you register, you can start watching the content. And we're going to post the link right here, so you can start watching it right now as soon as you register for the class. The content is PG-13, so you can use this with your children. There are 80 to 100 articles that we reference in the class. There's like 15 books. You don't have to buy any books to follow along in class. And we talk about this here in the lesson plan. Okay, we can't start studying our history in slavery. Even when we study the transatlantic slave trade, which is important, we can't start in 1619 or the 1440s. When the Portuguese get involved, we have to deal with hundreds of years, deal with the 800-year occupation of Europe by the Africans known as the Moors, also deal with some of the history of the Khoisan, who go all around the world. There are 200 slides, over 200 slides that I put together in our PowerPoint presentation that we'll look at. There are 80 to 100 articles that we'll reference. So I picked out the articles. There are 15 books that we reference. So we show you excerpts of the book on the screen. You don't have to buy any of the books if you don't want to. They're good for your library if you want to. Also, we'll look at excerpts of interviews that I've done with some of our scholars, like Professor James Small, Professor Kabahai Kamene, Anthony Browder, Tony Browder, who wrote Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization and Egypt on the Potomac. We use those two books. Those are two of the books we use in the class. Also, we'll look at excerpts of interviews that I've done with Runoko Rashidi and some other scholars also. Okay, so we do the sessions live. All the sessions are recorded. You can go back and watch it anytime. All right. That's Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade with